my daughters and my son and my family, they want to see a lot more positive things coming from the White House. Yeah. They want to see your leadership, and they also want to see things change for the better in this country.
Well, that was Wayne Dupree, host of the Wayne Dupree Show and a Project 21 member, addressing President Trump at a meeting of black leaders earlier this week. And yesterday in Dallas, the president met with another group of black leaders. Former NFL player and entrepreneur Jack Brewer was there, and he spoke with the president about racism. Listen to this.
We cannot fight this battle with flesh and blood. We cannot fight this battle with politics. You cannot politicize oppression. I grew up right down the street. I looked at skinheads in the eye at 13 years old. My black father went to a KKK rally to protect me. I know what racism is.
We now welcome Jack Brewer and Wayne Dupree. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, you both met with the president this week. If he invited you back to a private meeting right now, what is one or two things that you would advise him on and say, if you can do these things, it will help heal the country? Jack, I'll start with you.
First off, we got to go after the fatherhood issue we have in our country. You want to get to the root of the problem with systemic racism and issues with inner cities and the oppressed people in America. It starts with fatherlessness. I mean, 71% of kids that don't graduate from high school are fatherless. You're 5 times more likely to go to jail and be incarcerated, have run-ins with the police departments if you're fatherless. But if you look at our system, you will see one that actually encourages mothers not to have a father in the house, not to get married through our archaic entitlement programs and welfare policies from WIC to housing across the board. And then another thing is we got to enforce the censorship laws that we have in place right now. There's no reason that these 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids should be listening to the type of music they listen to, playing these video games that are warping their minds. It has to end. We have the laws. Let's enforce them.
Wayne, how about you?
You know, I would like to see more interaction and more hands-on with the community, with the black community.
From President Trump specifically?
Yeah, because President Trump was the first. I mean, look, I've known about the presidential, the White House and stuff ever since Reagan. President Trump, I've known about the presidential, the White House and stuff ever since Reagan. President Trump in my lifetime was the only president that I knew that walked in a black community. He did that with Ben Carson. It showed, and I have never seen another Republican presidential candidate to do that. And, I've been on these message boards. I've been on urban message boards all across social media. There's so many black voters, members of the black community that defend President Trump and and some of his policies on those boards. But there's a disconnect because, whatever you want to call it, he's not really connected as a one-on-one like he was when he walked in Detroit. He's not connected with the community. I wish that when the situation with Elijah Cummings was in Baltimore, I wish that he would have came to Baltimore and walked and talked to some of the people on the street. The people on the street was like, "We support Trump." That would have been oh my God. Can you believe him walking the streets of Baltimore, talking to because they would have received him, because they would, if that's one thing about on the black community, if we know that you're sincere, we accept you.
Yeah. Wayne, real quick, we saw Romney out there last week at a protest. Do you think that President Trump should go out there in that form?
I think President Trump would be a whole lot more received than Romney. Romney is politically expedient, he didn't do that back in 2012 when he was running for president. Imagine if Romney would have done what he did back in 2012. He probably would have got elected, and President Trump probably told him to do it, but he didn't want to listen to Trump, so he didn't win.
Hey, Jack, I want to start with you on this. It's really interesting. The president, we had a lot of discussion this week about taking statues down, banning the Confederate flag, renaming military bases. The president has been tweeting about it, talking about how the United States should not, these are hallowed grounds, that we should not change the name of these bases. But there's a poll that came out, ironically, from the Huffington Post. And the thing that I thought was interesting, it just got out of the field, and it was asking folks whether or not that they favor or oppose memorials and Confederate statues continuing to exist. 33% said that they favor getting rid of them. 33% say no. I was a little taken back by sort of the evenness of this. What do you guys think that should happen? Do you think that we should get rid of those symbols? Or are they important teaching tools going forward?
For me, listen, I'm a man of God. I believe in bowing to God and putting my knee down in prayer. I don't believe in idols, and I don't believe in worshiping these slave owners and people who have racism running through their blood. I think they were evil. So I don't want to have any idol that represents somebody that had evilness in their heart. And that's just me. And so on this one, I disagree with the president. And I think that, our country has moved so far past that. I understand we got to teach our history, but we don't have to praise it. We don't have to idolize it. And these are idols. And I don't want to idolize them. I don't want to see them. When I drive through Central Florida and see a Confederate flag, it's sick as my stomach. When I look at some of these Confederate folks, I went to school with skinheads. I had to look at Klansmen in my town. They represented these same people with the same flags and the same symbolism. So I have nothing to do with that. I pray for them. I forgive them as a God-driven man. But I don't think this country has any room for that mess.
Hey, Wayne, we're running out of time, but do you agree, or how do you come down on this?
I served in the military, and the young brother was talking about the historical fact from his side. I'm from Cambridge, Maryland. That the main street is called Race Street. It almost burned down in the 60s, a year before I was born. So I know about racial issues, but I don't look at them as idols. I don't look at them. I mean, they're just statues, and I barely ever see them if I even drive past them. I don't see anybody getting on their knees. I don't see nobody praying to them. I don't see nobody giving them homage and holding seances. But if it's hurting that many people, well, then if it's the will of the people, then go ahead and take them down. But to me, and to a whole lot of people that I know, it's not bothering. It hasn't bothered anybody before. It's not bothering anybody now. They just want to take them down so that it makes them feel good.
Well, it's going to be a really interesting conversation that happens actually, throughout the country in the next couple of weeks about what to do with all this. I know it's being held at a national level, a local level. So anyway, I appreciate you guys really sharing your insight with us. This is a great conversation. I hope we can continue it in the coming days.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Wayne.
All right, well, coming up, has the media been fair when reporting on the major news events of the past week? Lindsay and I are going to be joined by The Hill's Joe Concha to take a look at the mainstream media. That's coming up next.